He has been the most polarizing player in baseball for the past decade. And now the polarizing continues to new heights. Trevor Bauer is back in North America after spending the last season playing in the NPB in Japan. If you're a baseball fan, you know the story. Lindsey Hill alleged that Bauer sexually assaulted her but failed in asking the courts for a restraining order. Her legal team then used the media to ruin Bauer's image, and it worked, as Bauer was eventually suspended by Major League Baseball for a record 324 games, which was later reduced by an arbitrating panel to still a dizzying 194 games. He was allowed to play the 2023 season, but no Major League team would touch him with his ongoing legal battle with Hill. Now that all charges against Bauer have been dropped and he's negotiated permission to talk freely about the case, he is challenging teams to sign him for the league minimum with incentives. To understand this, that minimum payment that he is agreeing to would be the same wage that the team would pay the 26th guy on their roster anyways, so they actually wouldn't be paying any extra money from what their normal expense for the season would be, of course, unless Bauer meets certain performance bonuses, which you'd imagine would be based on things like helping the team to the postseason or winning the Cy Young or other things that would essentially benefit the team greatly. The reality is that there is not a single Major League team that Trevor Bauer could not instantly make better, including his former team, the Dodgers, one of the World Series favorites. His talent, desire to succeed, and even showmanship is undeniable, if not at times controversial. For a former Cy Young Award winner, you could argue this to be the greatest value for signing a known commodity, perhaps only second to when Shohei Ohtani originally signed with the Angels for the league minimum and just a $2.3 million signing bonus because of the international amateur designation that he received for making the move before he turned 25. So why aren't all 30 teams jumping at the chance to sign Bauer yet? The fact that he's making this a public statement says that he and his agent have already pitched teams privately to no avail. But now that this information has been made public, fan bases of all 30 teams are now in debates, with most voting that they want their team to sign Bauer by a 3-to-1 to 4-to-1 ratio. However, those who are opposed seem to be more vocal about their team not signing the polarizing pitcher. The old vocal minority versus the silent majority, who are scared of being labeled a Bauer supporter and being associated with what he was alleged to have done. Many other talented players have been avoided because of off-field problems in the past. Addison Russell of the 2016 World Series champion Cubs team after domestic abuse charges. Mike Clevenger is still unsigned after allegations of domestic violence from the mother of his child. Julio Urias and Wander Franco, both two of the brightest young stars, might have played their last ever games for issues related to domestic violence and inappropriate relationship with a minor, respectively. Athletes unable to navigate off-field issues has been an age-old dilemma in sports. The question, though, becomes, where do you draw the line between an athlete believing he's above the law and treating those around him inappropriately because of a delusion that he has created for himself, and when the player actually becomes the victim of a pretty face with a personal agenda? While Bauer obviously made a mistake here and has been known to be vilified on many occasions for some of his on-field and social media antics, this situation here seems to be more of a bad decision with the wrong person rather than the attitude of a millionaire brat that believes he's above the law. Based on recent interviews, it seems like Bauer understands his mistake, as well as how disrespectful he had been in the past with how he conducted himself.
I think in like 10 years when I look back on it, I'll be I think there'll be a lot of things in my life that have happened because of changes that I made during this time period that I'll be very happy with.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to like see off into the future when you're so in it, and when you feel like, everything you knew about your world is completely like gone. Like you're basically just torn down to zero. Like, where do I go from here? What am I doing? But as far as like updating the software and stuff, I think I'll be happy in 5 or 10 years that like changes that I've made because of this experience have helped me like grow as a person.
As unthinkable as it may sound, Bauer could actually be a voice for younger players who sometimes need to make the mistake themselves rather than learn from the veterans before them. Bauer hadn't conducted himself as the most professional, and when he eventually needed help, the league wasn't there for him. These are lessons he's learned now, and he wants to be a net positive for the league. After all he's been through the last 3 years, how could he not have learned a few things to share with younger players? Athletes have been forgiven before. Tiger Woods was celebrated for his 2019 Masters win after a very public fall from grace. Michael Jordan won 3 more championships after retiring at a time that coincided with gambling issues that were becoming more public. Mike Tyson still had the thug in him when he bit Evander Holyfield's ear after his boxing career resumed following a stint in jail, but if you watch his interviews now, you can see he's a different person and much more highly regarded than ever before. And let's not forget about this guy.
You played a hell of a game. And don't worry, I know you had nothing to do with Caretaker's murder, and I'll back that up.
Thank you.
Maybe not everyone deserves a second chance, but when those deciding whether or not someone is deserving or not, I hope it'll be determined on facts and change rather than likability and past actions that were never illegal or a danger to society in the first place. There are athletes that I do not like. There are athletes who I do not want to see succeed. But I would never want to be an obstacle in the way of someone not being allowed to play a sport I watch because of whether or not I like that player. Does Trevor Bauer deserve grace based on how he bit the hand that fed him? Maybe not. But I do believe this. I hope Trevor Bauer does get another chance, and I hope he succeeds as a new person. And this might be the greatest point to digest. If Trevor Bauer never pitches again, then Lindsey Hill wins. And she and others like her gain more power to go after professional athletes, to prey on them, and then threaten them or face the consequences of Trevor Bauer. Which side of this argument do you stand on? Obviously, it's a touchy subject, but please leave your comments while also being considerate of how others respond. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to this channel, as that will help me to produce more content like this.
Yes, he did. I don't know if Andre saw, but he just did. He swings and fouls it back. I think he wanted to go deep.